Good day. Today we will discuss the Remedial Classroom, its organization and management. Let's start with the definition of a remedial instruction. What is a remedial instruction? According to Merriam-Webster, it is intended as a remedy. It is concerned with the correction of faulty study habits and the raising of a pupil's general competence. Most of the time, it is associated with remedial reading courses. It is receiving or requiring remedial instruction. Other dictionaries say that it pertains to special teaching methods or materials for backward and slow learners. Who are those slow learners? They are students who learn slowly than their peers, yet do not have a disability requiring special education. It's according to Griffin, year 1978. So remedial instruction is applied to students in need of special assistance. As teachers, we have to understand that our students have different learning styles and different level of learning competencies. Some may understand the lesson immediately, some may be later, tomorrow, or next week. If that's the case, after the diagnosis, we have to start the remedial instruction. How about remedial program? A remedial program primarily helps students address language skills deficits by helping them acquire self-confidence to face their own weakness and overcome this through the acquisition of self-help strategies. A thorough assessment must be conducted before organizing a remedial program, while consistent monitoring is imperative in managing the program. So most of the students couldn't develop their speaking or language skills because they lack self-esteem. So it is important for us teachers that while we are doing the remediation, we are also boosting the confidence of our students. Again, we have the key factors of a remedial program. We have to focus on a thorough assessment and a consistent monitoring. So we have to diagnose the students first before the remediation. We have to know their weaknesses and the difficulties they encounter in learning. While consistent monitoring is an imperative, it is obligatory in conducting a remedial program. We have to monitor the progress of our students. So as teacher, we have to develop the drive and determination of our students. They should be motivated to learn and to develop their skills. So before we dig into more details, a remedial program, the first documented remedial program began in 1849 in the University of Wisconsin with the courses reading, writing, and mathematics. But it was abolished because of the university's embarrassment caused by their students' need for such remediation. Let's now proceed with the instructional guidelines. This should be considered in conducting a remedial program. The first one, instruction is systematic when it is planned, deliberate in application, and proceeds in an orderly manner. This does not mean a rigid progression of one-size-fits-all teaching. Second, intensive instruction on any particular skill or strategy should be based on need. Thus, intensity will vary both with individuals and groups. Third, there is no substitute for ongoing documentation and monitoring of learning. To determine the order in which skills should be addressed and the level of intensity required to help a child or group of children succeed in a particular area. Last one, to track specific goals and objectives within an integrated language arts framework. Teachers must know the instructional objectives their curriculum requires at the grade or year level they teach. So, important guidelines in conducting a remedial program are: number one, the instruction should be systematic. So, in a systematic instruction, one must consider the teacher as the superior control of the student's learning. So, we should expect changes, but we should expect changes along the way. Our strategies may not be applicable to all of our students. So as teachers in with a systematic instruction, we have to modify and be flexible all the time. Next, when we say intensive instruction, it requires us to consider the needs of our students to focus on intensifying the remediation. Third, again, documentation and monitoring is a must. Fourth, we have to develop instructional objectives or goals before conducting a remedial program. Let's now proceed with the organization. In organizing a remedial program, we must consider some factors. The first one is curriculum. So how are we going to organize a curriculum? As teachers, we have to base our goals and standards for language learning on theory and research. We have to relate our beliefs and knowledge about instruction to research. We have to organize the curriculum framework so that it is usable, and then select materials that facilitate accomplishment of school goals. So the first factor is curriculum. This factor focuses on what will students learn, on the content of our remedial program. So as teachers, it should be clear to us what are the goals and objectives to be attained at the end of this remedial program. And it should be clearly stated on our curriculum. The curriculum answers who, what, and even the budget of this program. Who are the persons involved? Who are the students to be remediated? What are the contents? What are the lessons to deliver? And how much it costs? So the curriculum focuses on the planning of the remedial program. Next factor is instruction. The program must identify instructional strategies and activities for learners. Instruction must be based upon what we know about the effective teaching of language skills. Those involved in designing or selecting instructional activities need to consider the variables that contribute to success in language learning, given its interactive and constructive nature. Time must be provided in the classroom for practice. Composing should be an integral part of the program. Students should be given opportunities to become independent and to self-monitor their progress. The climate in a school must be conducive to the development of students. The school must develop an organizational structure that meets individual needs of students. The program must provide for coordination among all language programs offered in the school. So the instructional factor of organizing a remedial program focuses on what research-based instructional practices will we use to teach, how to do something, and how to teach. It answers how, when, and where. The instruction deals with the teaching methods, the strategies to use during the remedial program. It also deals with the place, with the conducive environment. It also deals with the It also deals with the time and place. We have to consider that during the remedial program, the environment should be conducive to our students. The third factor in organizing a remedial program is assessment. Use assessment to guide instruction, develop scoring guides and rubrics, seek alignment among various layers of assessment. So for assessment, we have to evaluate. How will we know when each student has learned it? So the assessment factor deals with the records of performances and our expected output. As a teacher, we have to set the scoring guides and rubrics to assess our students' progress. Again, we have the key factors under organizing a remedial program. We have curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Now, how to manage a remedial program. School-based remedial sessions tend to involve 3 to 10 learners and typically last between 30 to 50 minutes, depending on whether they are in the elementary or secondary level. We plan to maximize the utilization of that time should be a high priority. To ensure that the program is effective, one must consider the 6 components of an ideal remedial program. We have here the overlapping components of remediation. Number 1, the orientation component. It provides continuity and focus to the remedial session. It may be an engaging question or statement related to local or national news, or even school life. It must focus on structured routines, materials, equipment, venue, people involved, and the objective of the program. So the orientation components focuses on the proper communication between the persons involved. We have to orient the parent, the teacher, and the student about the remedial program. Next is the direct instruction component. This is the instructional heart of the remedial session. It should never be traded away, even for one period without some compelling reason, because in this component, the teacher gives the intensive assistance to her students. Third, reinforcement and extension component. This period of time ideally should build on the direct instructional period and be spent in empowered reading, writing, and discussion of what was read. Writing activities may vary from simply listing keywords to summarizing and reacting. This component should keep students engaged and motivated to learn. If we relate this to lesson planning, the third component is the motivation and the discussion. Number 4, schema enhancement component. This unit of time should be spent in building a knowledge base for further reading and independent thinking. It is an ideal time to teach study skills such as outlining, note-taking, and memory training. Ideally, it should flow or precede component number 3. Why? Because this is the recapitulation of the lesson or the discussion. We have to activate prior knowledge here. As teachers, we have to link the new information to the old one. Number 5, personal emotional growth development. There is a little learning or consequence that can occur without the learner involvement and anticipation of personal progress. So learner should have the time or the ability to monitor their own progress. It is a self-assessment, an enrichment activity to identify if they really learned something. Number 6, Cognitive development component. The last component. It should contain an attempt to enhance basic thinking operations such as inference, abstract verbal reasoning, analogical reasoning, constructive or critical or creative reading, convergent and divergent analysis, problem solving, and metacognition. So the last component deals with the activities, the test, the evaluation part of our remedial program. So we have to develop the knowledge of the students. They should develop these basic thinking skills. To sum it up, again, remedial program is primarily designed to students in need of special assistance. A thorough assessment and consistent monitoring is required. In organizing a remedial program, one must consider curriculum, instruction, and assessment. One must also consider the 6 components of remedial program. These are the orientation, direct instruction, reinforcement and extension, schema enhancement, personal emotional growth, and cognitive development component. Again, thank you for listening.